And we're live. And we got sound. And knock wood, everything seems to be working so far. For how long, who knows? Anyway, let's get on with the hellos. Let's see, who got the cookie today? Looks like classic model O-scale trades, Thomas Moore. Thomas, you got the cookie, man. Good to see you here. And let's see who got the half cookie. Looks like Tom Grassi got the half cookie. Tom, good to see you. Glad you're here. And enjoy that half cookie. And let's see who else we got here. We have Dundas Junction Model Railroad. James, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, here's a name we haven't seen in a while. Digger Evans. Hey, Digger, good to see you, man. Been a long time since you've been on the chat. And we got Curly Express. Dwight, good to see you here. And enjoy the evening with me, hopefully. And it looks like classic model O scale trades, who is Thomas Moore, just changed his name back to Spike Man. I don't know, Thomas. I hope you keep that one, man. He says, I'm keeping this one for life now. I hope so, because I'm having a tough time keeping up with your channel changes. Let's see what else we got here. And we're scrolling. Chuck Schreiber. Hey, Chuck, good to see you here. Hanfield Road layout in the loft. Lee, how's it going? Good to see you. Gerald Stewart. Hey, Gerald. Always good to see you here, man. And Sparky 107. Good day to you too, sir. Glad to see you here. And Joe Rader, Black Rock Central Railroad. Good to see you, Joe. And who else here? I just saw the text message about 15 minutes ago. I'll probably have to get with you tomorrow on that. We'll see what we can't figure out. And who else do we got? I think that's everybody. And James says, happy July 4th to all my American friends. Yes, without a doubt. Happy July 4th, which is tomorrow. And, well, I think we're at, what, 250 years now? We've been an independent nation. Let's hope we stay that way for a while. All right, so that's everybody that's in here now. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed in the chat now, I see it on my laptop, which I use as a monitor. You got that, it's a crown and a number. And I just noticed it this morning on Morning Brew with Dave Thurber, Crooked Dave, you know. And I was at number 1 for a bit, and then I dropped down to number 4. I'm still not sure how it works. I'm guessing that the more stuff you do on in the chat, the more chats you put up, the more popular you get, and your numbers change alongside the crown. I guess. I'm not 100% sure. Hey, Raymond Anthony, 127. Yes, sir, you have arrived. Good to see you here. The Sparky says, man, I was on top chat again. So hi, everyone. If it looks like I missed you. Okay. Like I said, I can't really tell from here. It's a little far away, but like I said, I don't know how it worked. And all of a sudden, after I was rated 1, and I was rated like 4, I wasn't rated all. I lost my crown. So maybe I wasn't putting enough comments in the chat, I guess. I don't know. Hard telling. Let's see here, what else we got going on. And if you give, Sparky says if you give super chats, you get more points. Well, I'm not even eligible for super chats, am I? I don't know how any of that shit works. Yeah, Ray, actually it was you that stole my crown this morning. Good to see you, by the way, Ray. I'm working on your Trump trucks. The first batch of bodies didn't turn out well. I don't know what happened, but there was a flaw in them, so I shit-canned them. So I just printed four sets of wheels, you know, the bottom chassis. They came out good. So I'll probably set up 4 more for tonight. And then tomorrow I'll try and do bodies again. I did reconfigure the body, so hopefully they'll come out good. And I still have interiors to do. It's probably going to be a couple weeks before I get them done, but that's cool. So just hang tight with me on that, and we'll get them out to you. Gerald said, Jim, if you click on one of the purple ovals, you can view the stats. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that either. This is something brand new. Like, just showed up, what, today probably, or yesterday? I don't know. I didn't. I can't keep track of half of this shit. Yeah, Ray says with YouTube, it's all a clown show. That seems that way, doesn't it? Looks like Sparky's having fun here. He's doing one-word things. We got, how did I lose my crown to Gerald? Only the top 3 get a crown. Okay, I didn't know that, Gerald. Good to know. Sparky says he feels cheated. Well, I don't blame you, Sparky. Of course, when it comes to YouTube, we're all getting screwed, aren't we? That's some crazy stuff. I don't know what's going on with that. I can't keep up with it. All I know is I'm losing more subs than I'm gaining. I'm down to 494 now. I actually got to 497. That close to 500. And it dropped back, so I don't know what the hell is going on. But thanks to Tom Grassi, I did learn some ways to improve my viewing hours, so I'll be working on that in the coming weeks. So at least I'll get that out of the way. I'll have plenty of viewing hours, but I still need, 6 subs. That's crazy. Ray says, and we're not talking to Ronald McDonald. Is that about that boycott on McDonald's? I heard about it. I don't know what the hell it's about. I don't eat their shit anyway, so I really don't care. And then James says, I'm in the basement. Are you bragging, James? I don't know. I'm not passing judgment or anything. Just sounds a little bit like you're bragging. Sparky says YouTube doesn't like me anymore. I did a live stream the other day and only 5 people in the chat for 30 minutes. Well, you didn't advertise it though, did you, Sparky? You gotta let people know. I didn't know about it, or I would have tuned in, but I don't get notifications for hardly anybody. It really sucks. Says I can't pay for it. Now we need the septic sewer truck, the sucker truck, to drain the swamp. Why, you want some of those too? Send me an email, let me know. I'll make some of those too. Tom says you can turn off, Jim, you can turn off the crown on the chat. I did that on my channel. I don't really care whether they're there or not. It doesn't matter. I was just kind of curious to how it worked. Well, thanks for that info, Tom. Yeah, I played that one last week. Um, that's the one my old layout from about 8 years ago, and I'd forgotten about it, and I watched it, and actually I played it last week for you guys, and I think I could proudly say that it looked pretty fucking good for a smaller layout. I did a nice job on it, so I gotta try and regain that detail and professionalism on this layout, and I will. It's just going to take a while. And James says, Jim don't like me. He don't watch me live on Monday. It's not that, James. Like I said, I don't get notifications. And most of the time, I just simply don't remember. I got so many things going on that... I have the same problem with Tom from Tom's Trains and Things. He runs on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. Except this Wednesday he didn't because his sister was in town or something. And most of the time I just can't remember that he's on. And like I said, I got so many things going that... But so I have caught replays here and there. I need to do more of that, but unfortunately I don't have time for that either. But I definitely like you, James. I think you got a great layout and an interesting one. And I try and keep track of what you're doing so I can, give you positive comments on it. Lee, you taking off? Okay, thanks a lot for popping in, man, and have a good one. Well, yeah, it does, because it's a whole different deal. I mean, I had a smaller room, and that was, I more or less finished that one, and I wanted to add on to it, and I did. And what had happened is I really cluttered up the room with more layout. Then, of course, I sold the house. I'd take it all apart and ship what I could up here. So, like I said, I still say the best part of the layout is the building. Once it's done, once you're finished with it, I don't know, it's still good, but not quite as good as, when you were building it. Tom says, Jim, I found a method to inform all your subscribers that you posted a new video. I'm going to try that. All right, well, when we talk tomorrow, you tell me about that. Says that sounds like a good deal. I did watch that video you sent me, though, on how to boost your watch hours. It's pretty interesting. So I'm going to do some of that stuff. But I got to make some videos first. All right, James, that's cool. I'll take it. That's cool. That's all you said. That'll help. Yeah, I know, Ray. That's what I'm saying. They really don't. If I do get one, it's very rare. And I can't remember getting a notification for anybody. Probably in the last year or so. I don't know. Hey, DWM Trains, Dave, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. I don't know about next week, but I'll get to it, Thomas. I said I've been really busy. I got all kinds of things going on. I had to do a doctor's appointment today to see my kidney doctor. Got good news and all, so it was a good thing, but they always try and line me up on Thursday. I tell them, don't do Thursdays, because I don't like to get caught up in anything on Thursday because of my show. It was a 1:30 appointment. I didn't get out of there until almost 3 o'clock. You know, and that's the problem with him. He's like, you go there and you're there forever. Even though he sees you for like 5 minutes. So, but I'll try and get out there and get some for you. I haven't forgotten. I just really been so busy that you have no idea what I got, all the stuff I got going on here. Between trying to work in here and get things done in the house. I bought a new portable air conditioner the other day from Amazon. My old one still works, but it's just not working that well, and I think it's only 7,000 or 8,000 BTU. And my living room, dining room, kitchen combined is probably around 1,000 square foot. You know, it's big. So it really wasn't cooling the area unless you were standing in front of it. So I bought a 14,000 BTU, more modern. It works great. It's cooling off the whole center of the house. I've got a mini split in the second bedroom. That freezes that out. Got a mini split in the master bedroom. That freezes that out. So I pretty much got the whole house covered. So thank God, knock wood, that shit's all done for now. But then I've got other things I've got to do. You know, I've got to get the master bathroom back in working order again. I've had the toilet off the floor now for over a year. Because I have to repair the wall behind it. And I've just been kind of putting it off. Well, I got to get to it. So that's going to be my priority in the next couple of weeks. Get the wall fixed. And put the toilet back on the floor, you know, in front of it. So that, you know, that we'll have an extra toilet to use. Because right now, my stepdaughter and her kids, they'll be here tonight around midnight. They came down from Michigan, and they'll be here for approximately 2 weeks, maybe longer. So they're going to be hanging out in the second bedroom. That was why I had to get that air conditioning unit set up for them. And my stepdaughter bought bunk beds with a trundle third bed under it. It's really nice, and a crib for the baby. So they should all be pretty comfortable in there. But once again, I had to get it done, you know. And like I said, I just replaced the batteries in my scooter. I told you about that last week. That was a fucking nightmare. Because, you know, they swelled up and melted together. The 4 batteries about 60 pounds. Which I know isn't much, but apparently it is for me now. So I had to actually come along them out of the tray because I couldn't lift them out, you know. So that was, you know, he says it's one fucking thing after another, you know. Now we got the potential for a hurricane coming here at some point, I'm sure. And I've got a lot of debris in the front yard, you know, like little, I wouldn't call them logs, more like kindling. I got a big stack of it. I got to get rid of it. That should be flying around taking out windows and shit. I got the old chicken coop back there. It's a small red one. That's falling apart. I got to bust it up some more, throw that in the back of the truck. Just haul the shit in the back of the truck and haul it to the dumps. And get it out of my property so that I don't have flying debris, you know. In case a hurricane does decide to swing around, you know, because you just don't know anymore. So anyway, so that's what I got going on, and there's a lot of things going on, unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. So we go by and go home is on at 8. Okay, I'm sure I'll be on past 8, but for those who have to leave, that's cool. You know, go enjoy that show. And We'll see you next week. GRE 2057. Hey, good to see you here. He says, I'm out on the internet right now using my mobile data to watch you tonight. If you've seen my community post, you will see why. About had the unthinkable happen. I haven't seen it, but I'll look for it. I'm not surprised by anything, so you know. I was worried about losing power tonight because we had storms in the area. And anytime there's any kind of thunderstorm here, there's always that risk that the power will go out. And well, if the modem goes out, it's in the house and it's not. I don't have a backup on. I probably should get one for it. UPS, because it takes almost 10 to 15 minutes to reboot, and until it reboots, I can't go back online. So, that's just the way things work around here. So I did get a little bit done. Very little. In here. And, I'm going to show it to you. Well, that's not good, GRE. See, it said it came very close to having a house fire. You don't want those. That always scares me too, because I'm in a wood frame house. When I lived in a concrete house, CBS house, I really wasn't worried about fire too much, Might lose a wall or a ceiling, but the main structure will still be there. But a wood frame house, that may not work out too well. Said no fix until next week sometime. I hope you get it straightened out. So anyway, here's what I've been doing. I got the camera set up. I didn't shoot any video, but you can see on the top level there, that's my yard. So far I've got 3 of the lines in, and I think I've got 3 or 4 more to go. I had to make some more of these. My buffer stops. I printed like 8 of them, but I think I only need 3 or 4. I gotta paint them yet. I painted them yellow, and they look good in yellow for some reason, so I'm gonna stick with that plan. And I noticed some of the other guys are doing the same thing. Either yellow or red. And I don't know if it's prototypical or not. It's probably not, but hey, who cares? It looks good on the, it stands out. And it just looks better than a brown one or a black one. So I don't know who the first one was to use a yellow. Could have been me, could have been somebody else, I'm not sure. But I got the idea because I was going to put LEDs in them and light them up. And have them red, and I thought, that's too much work. So, and it does work because I did that out here on the passenger line. I got they're clear and it got red LEDs in them, and it does glow red when the track is active. So it's kind of cool because you know if the track's active or not. But up in the yard, I'm going to put the small dwarf signals in and tie them into whatever, probably the tortoise motors to light up when the track is active or not. So we'll see. Like I said, I want to kind of keep it a little simple. And James said he put up a link. You see the link there, so anybody wants to check it out, go ahead and do that, hopefully after the show. And Spike Man says Jim derailed Darrow looking for me a Union Pacific Railroad spike. Cool. Yeah, I gotta see if I can find you one over here too. I just gotta get down there to do it. You know, it's easy to say, not so easy to do. And Tom says, Jim, is that the bumper? Mine are all yellow with a red LED in them. Well, these are set up, I think. Now, these are the last ones. Because the ones I got up there now have a hole in the front for the LED. Oh, wait a minute, this has it too. It just kind of blocked up in there right now. I could open that up, but yeah, I could put an I said I'm going to paint these yellow. I could put a red LED in there, but it's largely unnecessary because I'll be using the dwarf lights up in the yard. So the dwarf lights will show, you know, green when the track is active, you know, when the switch is thrown. So we'll see. That's a good question, James. I know somebody else does. I thought Walters makes them too. I could be wrong, but I could swear that Walters had their version of it as well. So you might want to check that out. Check their catalog. I'd like to get one of those myself and put it on, you know, maybe select end cars. That'd be kind of cool. So anyway, yeah, that's really all I did on the layout this week. I know it doesn't look like much, but the way I'm doing it is I'm gluing the track down, you know, with Elmer's glue, because I felt the Elmer's works really good because it's removable without destroying the track. But it's thick enough to where it'll keep it down there, you know, under normal use. So I run a strip of Elmer's along where the track is going to go. And then I use, well, I've got my 1, 2, 3 blocks, but I've only got 2 of them. And I use more or less full spray cans because they're kind of heavy and they lay on the track perfectly. And I run them every so often to hold the track down to the foam, to glue it down. And you can only do one track at a time. And I really want them to sit overnight to get good and dry and hard. And then the next day I'll come back and I'll do another strip. And that's the way I've been doing it. It's like I said, I've got 3 or 4 more to go. And it'll probably take me 3 or 4 days to do it, you know. But that's fine, because like I said, I'm not going to kill myself, and I only have so much time to work out here because I have other things that have to be done too. So trying to fit everything in is not always easy, but it's necessary. Of course, we've been getting hammered with rain here. And my grass is about 1.5 foot, well, my weeds, you want to call it grass. It's about 1.5 foot tall already. I just cut it like a week ago. So every time it rains here, they grow like 4 or 5 inches. And literally, it's been raining every day off and on. And we're getting a little bit of rain as we speak. And there'll probably be more tonight. So if I could find some dry time tomorrow, I'll get the old rider out there and knock it down before I have to go around a damn bush hog to do it. So, my John Deere, I mean, it's okay, but, you know, it's not a big tractor, so it can't really handle really crazy tall grass. It'll just stall it out. I think I've got I think it's an 18 horse single engine on that, single cylinder engine. I really screwed up. I should have bought a better mower. I had the money to do it, and yeah, I didn't want to come off of it, so I kind of settled. But I really should have bought one of those ZTR, zero turning radius deals. They were like $3,000 more, you know, and I already gave almost $2,000 for the John Deere. But I could have got like a 28 horse twin twin cylinder engine on that, and would have been a lot easier to move around and more maneuverable. That's what I should have done. I don't have the money now, so you know, here I am, but it is what it is. James says I use nails for my track. Well, you're on wood, right? See, I'm not on wood on there. I got the 1-inch foam, and some of it has wood under it, and some of it doesn't. And the wood I do is just 1/4 inch, sanded plywood. Because there's plenty of supports under there, so I don't have any sagging or anything. But there's no way I'd get away with using, track nails. And on the lower level, there's some areas where I did use track nails because it was convenient. And I really needed it to be solid, so. Hey, the Gigliottis, Ray, how you doing? Good to see you here, man. Says, happy early 4th of July. Yes, sir. Happy early 4th of July to you. Tom Grassi says, James, Evan Designs has a kit for the Fred, too. Okay, that's good to know. Tom says, we're having a rainstorm now with thunder and lightning. Yeah, I know, you guys are getting hammered, too. It's like the whole East Coast is... I don't know what the hell's going on. They're blaming on climate change, but I'm not buying it. I still think they're screwing with the weather. And maybe this is the unintended consequences of whatever they've done before. Who the hell knows? Yeah, send the rain north. They already got it, man. Trust me. Dwight says, send some of that rain over here, Thomas. I haven't had any over 2 months. Aren't you like right in the middle of Tornado Alley, though? Well, no, you're in Illinois, right? So it's kind of missing you. You're lucky. Just south of you, they're getting hammered, and I guess north of you too. Minnesota's been getting hit with it. Kansas, Arkansas. Hey, the whole weather around this country is just like weird. I don't know what the hell's going on. Dwight says, I have never seen my pond dry before and it's almost empty. Wow. Tom says, weather's going to be nice tomorrow. Yeah, lucky you. Not here. We're looking for more of the same. They're saying that there probably won't be a 4th of July celebrations because the weather will be so bad. And they're still trying to convince us that there's a hurricane waiting to form right over the state. I'm not buying it, of course, but who the hell knows, And once again, they seem pretty damn sure, which makes you wonder, are they actually creating these things or not? How would you be that sure about something? GRE says, Michigan, at least in my part, is in drought right now. Go figure, right? I mean, what the hell's going on? It's just weird. And DWM Trains, Dave says the Earth's magnetosphere is all messed up and it's affecting the weather. Yeah, but what messed up the magnetosphere? Did we do it? Or is it natural, or what the hell's going on? Yeah, I want to hear someone say drought now after all this rain. Yeah, you ain't gonna get that lucky, Tom. I don't know what the hell's going on with the weather. It's kind of bizarre. Like I said, here when it rains, the grass grows at a phenomenal rate. We don't flood here. That's the good thing. At least not where I'm at anyway. and it just like soaks up into the ground. And generally, about 2 or 3 days after a couple of rains, time to drag the mower out, and it's no different this time. But I've got, well, about an acre and a half, a little over that, where I have grass to cut or weeds or whatever, and the shit's getting tall. I mean, and there's some areas that, like in the backyard where the septic tank is, it gets thick back there. And it becomes a little difficult to mow if it gets out of control, so I can't fool around too much. I got to get on it, and But I'll need at least, probably 2 hours of dry weather tomorrow to be able to go out there and cut it, because you can't really cut wet grass that well. I think you're thinking of the ozone level. It was all messed up with all the women using hairspray. That was the ozone. The magnetosphere is a little different. Now I know the HARP weapon, which is not so much of a secret now. We have one in Alaska. It messes with the shit. It's not the magnetosphere. It's one of the other ones. The ionosphere. And supposedly it could superheat the ionosphere and bring about weather change and all kinds of other unintended consequences. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not fooling around with that thing. Who the hell knows? I need goats. I need a shitload of goats to keep up with it, man, because there's a lot of grass here, weeds or whatever. And I think it grow faster than they could eat it. Actually, I wouldn't mind having a small army of cattle here, Eat to their heart's content, and I can butcher them and eat well for the rest of my life. Alright, Dave says, the sun is approaching solar maximum and is fluctuating wildly. The sun affects our Yeah, that's true, it does. At least that's what I was taught anyway. That could have a lot to do with it, but I have a feeling that we're messing with things too. Because, we just can't leave nothing the fuck alone. For some reason, I don't know why. I know they're predicting a really wicked hurricane season, but to be honest with you, I'm hoping they're wrong, and I have a feeling they may be. They seem disappointed that we haven't been devastated yet. And usually, in Florida, we don't really get hurricanes until later in the year. September and October are the worst months for hurricanes. We don't generally see anything that hits the state or affects the state this early in the season. So, but the weather people, oh no, it's going to be bad. It's going to be the worst season ever. They're talking about even a new Category 6. And I'm thinking, maybe you guys are just looking for some extra news time or something. I mean, what the hell, man, I don't know what the hell's going on. I really don't. All I know is living in the middle of the States is kind of a blessing, because even if a big hurricane did hit the coast, yes, we'll get some of it, but it will really, really power down by the time it gets here. To maybe a Category 1, Even if it hit the coast of the Cat 6, which is possible, so they say. By the time it got 60 miles in, it's going to dissipate to some degree. So that was one of the reasons why I moved in the middle of the state and got away from the coast when I was, down in Naples. And we saw what happened in Naples last year with Milton. So I got out of there just in time. Although my house did fare well in that hurricane. The old house, it didn't suffer any real damage that I could tell. And that was only a mile from the beach. So I don't know. I think maybe sometimes too it's certain land masses or whatever are more prone to problems than others. And usually it's not the hurricane that's the problem, it's the damn mini tornadoes that turn up in them. If a mini tornado hits your house, well, you're screwed. I don't care what the hell you got. So, and once again, tornadoes are very reliant on the properties of the land that where it's affected. You know, so when they look at all, we'll all be safe from that, hopefully. I don't want to have to deal with that shit either. Anyway, so yeah, that was all I got done up there. It wasn't much. I haven't done any further cleanup. I got a lot of trash on the floor. You know, I just sweep up and track like pieces of tie that were discarded. Nothing that was usable because I kept the usable stuff. And some scrap pieces of track that are too small to use. Once up on the floor, you know, and then at some point I'll get tired of looking at it, sweep it up, and dump it all in the trash. Because if I went around picking up after myself every minute of the day that I'm here, I spend more time doing that than I get anything done. And I don't get enough done as it is. So. Still don't have trains running yet either. I haven't gotten around to cleaning the track. I mean, realistically, if I had a whole week in here, well, not really a whole week, but, you know, several hours a day for 5 days, I might actually get something accomplished. Whether I can pull that off or not is anybody's guess. We'll see. So let's see, I don't have anything to show you guys. Although I want to remind everybody about Sparky's meet and greet. There's the first part of it. It starts, let's see, where's the second part? August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of this year. So if you have any plans of getting up into Canada to see him, now would be a good time to start planning for it. Because, you don't wait till last minute. So, get your passports in order and your rental cars or airplanes or whatever you're going to do, however you're going to get there. And go see Sparky. It ought to be pretty good. I wish I could do it. Unfortunately, I can't. But, maybe one day, who knows. But just a reminder that it will be happening, and he's got a lot of good things planned. His itinerary is really nice. It's pretty complete. So go ahead and get with him and get all your stuff in order to go do his meet and greet. And now back to our regular programming. I'm just checking everything to make sure everything's still working. Actually, we're doing pretty good. No drop frames. We're in the green. I got the mic or the camera right in front of some of the stats. And so far, so good. Yay! So let's see what else we got going. Still working on that. For any of you guys that saw the video I did on the engine that I bought. That was a big clusterfuck, but I've been communicating with the Chinese guy that owns the company. And I don't know if they're really that stupid or they think I'm that stupid. It's hard to tell which is which. But he's made 2 counter offers so far. Now, I spent $54.98 to buy this cheap piece of shit 3D printed plastic replica of a small block Ford engine. Now, it's supposed to be an all-metal CNC operating, it runs on gas, kit, and it was supposedly 85% off. Well, all the above was lies. It was not a kit. It was literally, it was 3D printed. You could see it was 3D printed. One piece. I mean, and the paint on it was so terrible, it looked like a kid did it. It's really bad. I don't have it in front of me. I got it in the house, but see, I got 2 counter offers. They wanted, the first time they offered me $4.82 refund for my troubles. And I'm going, are you fucking kidding me? I paid $54 for this thing, and you're offering me $4 and change? Seriously? So, of course, I rejected it. So, yesterday, they do most of their communication at night because I guess that's daytime in China, our nights. So I got another counter offer. They want to give me $8.52. And I have to ship the model back to them at my expense. And I'm thinking, you know what it's going to cost me to send this thing all the way back to China? I'm not going to get the deal on, free postage that they get. So I'd wind up probably spending probably $20-$30 to ship that fucking thing back. So I wrote him a letter back. I said, look, what part of this do you understand? You're a scam artist. You deliberately lied about what this model was on your website. You claim it was CNC machined in kit form. Showed all the different components, pistons, rods, camshaft, crankshafts, blockheads, everything that would go with an engine. And all I got was a cheap plastic 3D printed model with a lousy paint job on it that didn't resemble anything that you showed on the webpage. That, my friend, is fraud. You're a liar and a fraudster, and I want my damn money back, all of it. And if you want the model back, you pay the shipping on it. Why should I pay for it? You're the one who screwed me over, not the other way around. So they sent it back, and you know what? Fuck this shit. I went ahead and escalated the claim with PayPal. And for all you guys who are not aware of this, you can do this with PayPal. If you get screwed over, you can get a full refund if you're in the right. I mean, they'll give you a chance to work it out with the seller. And if that don't work, you can escalate it. And then they take over. And I've only done this like 3 times in my entire life. And each time I got a full refund because, I got screwed. Now, I'm not trying to cheat anybody, but when you tell me you're going to sell me for $54.98 a CNC machine engine and kit form with, like so many hundreds of parts, and you send me a lump of plastic, well, we're going to have a problem. So, we'll see what happens. So now PayPal, it's in their hands. I'm reasonably sure that they'll find on my behalf. I mean, it's very obvious. I sent pictures of what they sent me. I sent them a picture of the web page and a link so they can look at the web page. And nowhere on the web page does it show you getting a cheap 3D plastic model that's not in kit form. There's, no, this is CNC machined. It's all metal, precision, CNC machining, designed to run on gasoline, 95 octane. 79 octane, sorry. 79 octane gasoline. The only thing you got to do is buy the radiator and the gas tank for it. We don't supply that. And they show pictures of the engine running and everything. I mean, it's all a lie. they do have such a motor. I did look for one on Amazon. They want $2,000 for it. You know, I knew they weren't cheap, and like I said, I didn't really think that I was going to get a running motor. I figured I might get a replica, you know, and that'd be fine because I figured half the fun would be putting it together, you know. But I didn't expect what I got. You know, you sent me literally a 50-cent fucking 3D printed model. Really? Fucking Chinese. If we don't nuke them out of existence at some point, we really dropped the ball on that one. Because you know what? They deserve to get nuked just for the bullshit that they pull. DWM Train says, that is why we use PayPal. Just let them know, and and they will. Like I said, they have in the past. I've only done this like 3 times prior, and they always found in my behalf, and you know, like I said, you know, it's obvious. It's not like I'm, you know, I paid for this, but I got this instead, and I had no proof. The proof was right on the website. Their website shows a metal engine with an engine with metal components in kit form that you assemble. It didn't show a plastic fucking piece of shit. And Amazon sells that plastic piece of shit too, and it's $29. Free shipping. Go figure, right? The same thing. Like I said, the company apparently make both. I mean, you know, China's famous for knockoffs on everything, you know. And I suppose that because it's made by Sison, Cison, and the Sison that they sent me is probably a cheap knockoff, you know, because the real motor is actually a CNC fully functional gasoline engine, you know, small, talking about yay big. But, you know, it's like for RC cars and shit, so. James says, I don't trust PayPal. You know, there was a time I didn't either. But PayPal is one of the safest ways to buy stuff. And if anything's questionable, if they don't take PayPal, I won't buy it. Because if it is questionable, I know if I use PayPal, I can get a refund if they fuck me over. So I'm, you know, and they're not hackable either. So you can't really hack your way through PayPal unless you give up all your information, but nobody can actually get it. So I've had PayPal for shit maybe 30 years. I don't know, it's been a long time. And it's always treated me pretty good, so I can't complain. Dwight says PayPal will cover your ass. Yes, they will. And James said, Dwight, we had a few people get hacked. I don't know how they can get hacked on PayPal. Dwight says, no, alright. Yeah, rant button, there you go. Well, I guess it could be a rant, but the point is, China's notorious for this shit. And I told you my mother-in-law, she was buying stuff from Temu. I bought stuff from Temu too, but I'm careful with what I do. You know, she bought it was a 3-tool set, gardening tools. It was a little shovel, a hoe, and like a de-weeding tool, whatever you call it, spikes on it. Well, she assumed they'd be, you know, normal size, right about like this. Of course, it was cheap. It was like $5. So she went ahead and ordered it. Well, she didn't check the size dimensions on it. When she got it, they were about this big. And they were for them Japanese gardens that they have. I don't know what, I can't remember what they're called, but that's what it's for tending the Japanese garden. So, in that respect, yes, they should have pointed that out. Well, this tool is actually only an inch long, you know, instead of say 8 inches. They don't. They just say, well, we did put on the site the dimensions, but you've got to look for them. They're not really out in the open. You got to hunt for the dimension. I told you, anytime you buy something from China, check the dimensions of what you're buying. She bought a rose in a potted rose. It was fake, you know, but she thought it was going to be about like this, right? It was like $4, so she gets it. A little plastic pot and a little rose bush about inch and a half, inch and 3/4 tall. And she goes, "That's what they sent me." I said, "Ruth, I told you, check the damn dimensions." "Well, I don't know where to look." I said, "You got to look." I said, if you need help, come and I'll look for you. You know, because they have to do it. And every item they sell, they do post the physical size of. But if you don't look and just assume they're big, well, you're going to get screwed, you know. Is it deceptive advertising? I think it is. But, you know, we let them get away with it, so it's not right. Spike Man said, "Jim, can you make me a 5/5/8 inch road spike in black?" I don't have any black left. So, actually, no, I can't. Sorry. The only thing I have now is the gray filament and the white white resin. And Curly said, Dwight says, "James, that's still not PayPal's fault, it's your friend's fault." And it probably is. Because like I said, there's no way you can actually hack the account. There's too many safeguards in it. But sometimes you got to be careful because you'll get an email, looks like it's from PayPal, and when you use the link they provide and use your username and password, well, you just fucked up and you allowed the hacker to hack you because you gave them the information. Never use the link they send you. Always go to paypal.com, use that link, and then log in the way you would. And if you don't see anything on your page relating to what their claim that you owe or whatever, then you know it's a scam. The first time they did that to me, I freaked out. This was many years ago. I freaked out. I shut the account down because I had my bank linked to it, you know. And I'm thinking, well, shit, if they have access to my bank, I'm fucked. Well, it turns out it was a scam email. So I went ahead and I re-upped with it a few months later once I found out what was going on. And I still get the fake emails all the time, you know, thanking me for buying a, you know, $900 computer program or $700 iPhone. And it's like, no, I didn't do any of those things. And all I do is I just, all right, click out of it. Click on paypal.com, you know, from my link to it on my computer. There's no mention of what this I supposedly spent this money on because it isn't real. So if your friend got duped into using the link they provided in the scam email, then yes, he gave them the information so they can hack them. You got to be careful with that stuff. And that's true with anything. I don't care whether it's your bank or whatever. There's a new latest scam is they're using the DMVs, Division of Motor Vehicles, from several states to send emails saying that you've got speeding tickets you didn't pay or a toll that you didn't pay. I got one for the toll and I'm going, no. I said, where's the picture of my car and my tag? You know, because whenever you get caught with a, you know, going through a toll booth without paying, that's what they do. So I'm going, now this is bullshit, so I deleted it and moved on, you know. Then I found out a few days later that this was the latest scam to get, and it's not big money. You know, it's like 10, 12 bucks. But if you do it to 100,000 people and they pay, that's big money you just made, you know. I personally think that all hackers should be executed. You know, you scam somebody, you fucking die. That's all there is to it. I'll put a stop to that shit. Now eBay, yeah, that's a little different. I wouldn't trust eBay either, but I do trust PayPal. I've never had a problem with them, and I do stand behind them in that respect. Yeah, I know. Well, eBay is high shipping anyway, and they've been screwing people the last couple of years with that. And that like that, but if you sell anything on eBay, they tax you on it now. So that's bullshit too, because thank God I did all my sales years ago. I sold something like $25,000 worth of merchandise over the course of time, and thank God they weren't taxing us at that time, because I would have had to pay income tax on that shit, which is bullshit because it's all used stuff, and I don't think you should be taxed on something that's already been taxed once when it was purchased new. But that's just me. Well, I'll get back with you on that, Thomas. Yeah, it's gray. It's not really the color metal, but it's close. Well, let me tell you something, Dwight. Now, I my email address has wound up on the dark web like 100 times already, and they keep hacking into it. Now, I would use simple passwords that really shouldn't be that easy to hack, but they do. So this is all right. I'm tired of getting hacked. So I created a password about 30 letters long. There's no words. They're just a jumbled letters, numbers, symbols, capitalized, not capitalized. You would think it would be impossible to hack something like that. They literally hacked it the same day I put it up. So I just got to the point where, you know what? There's nothing that can really hurt me in my email. If you want to hack my email, knock yourself out. You're going to get bored to death. you know, it's the same thing like, medical records. Now, a lot of the medical companies now, they're doing a two-step verification or two-step authentication, which is a pain in the ass. So you type in your username and password, then it goes ahead and sends a text message to you with a code. You have to put the code in back on depending whether you use your phone or PC, doesn't matter. But you have to type in the code that they send you, and then they'll let you in. That's fairly decent, seems fairly secure. Whether it really is or not, I don't know. But they're medical records. Do I really give a shit whether somebody knows I'm diabetic or not? You can't do anything with that information. So, go fuck yourself. I mean, the only thing I care about and the thing that's important to me is my bank and my money. If you hack my bank account, well, then, yeah, it's going to get ugly. But fortunately, my bank is very, very secure. Knock wood. Two-step authentication on there. I mean, you can't, even just a change of passwords a major ordeal. And I did change all my passwords not that long ago because so many places were getting hacked. But so far, so good. Haven't any problems. And they're supposed to replace your money if you do get hacked. I had somebody hack my debit card, not once but twice. And I think the one time they got $300 some. I got the money back that day. I don't know whether the bank eats that money or not, but I did get a full refund. And of course, they overnighted me a new card. The funny thing is, it was out-of-state hack. It was like from New York. I haven't been in New York in like 10, 15 years. And I've had several different cards since then. And one time the bank called me up and says, "Did you do any? Are you trying to make a purchase at a big and fat woman's clothing store?" I don't think it was big and fat. It was something like that. Big and tall, maybe. Don't know. Where's it at? He's in New York. Ain't me. All right. Well, we declined the transaction. We're going to send you a new card. You'll have it tomorrow morning. I said, all right, cool. You know, and I think that was for like $700, which I don't even have enough. Half the time I don't have enough money in the bank to even cover these things. You know, because I go through money pretty quick. I mean, because I don't get a lot of it. It's a problem. I don't know what the solution is. Like I said, I think the smart thing we could do right now is anybody who gets caught hacking anything, if we find them and prove it's them, we should just fucking hang them. Death penalty. Not 20 years from now either. A couple of days after they get popped. And that's how you're going to stop that shit. Because otherwise, it's just going to keep going on. All right, Thomas, you could send me that and I'll take a look at it. No promises, but I'll take a look. So Dwight says, I use it all the time, James, and I get a bad deal or damage or anything. PayPal will give me my money. Yeah, they do. They're really good about that. That's why I said I trust PayPal on a lot of stuff that I buy that may or may not be, you know, legitimate. James said that is why they scrapped the federal sales tax in Canada. I wish they'd do that here. Yeah, I'll check that out later, Thomas. And Dwight says, James, I know everything I do. Well, it is, you know. Well, yeah, it is, and they have my Social Security card, too, according to dark web information. They have my Social Security number, my full name, my birth date, place of birth, my physical address, and of course all my medical records. What are they going to do with it, you know? The thing is, it's so easy to get a Social Security number, it's not funny. Same with a driver's number. There was, I don't know if it's still around, but a few years ago there was a program you can download for free. And if you knew the person's name and date of birth, you could type it into this program and it would give you their driver's license number. And it was 100% accurate every time. You know, what could you do with that? I don't know. But this is the problem. Anything electronic, you're going to have issues with, you know, somebody grabbing your information. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but I have no control over it. But I'm not going to get all freaked out. Oh my God, they got my Social Security. Fuck them. Who cares? You want my social? Knock yourself out. My credit's iffy. You know, I have no money in the bank to speak of. Your chances of pulling a loan based on my credit record are not very good. So you're wasting your fucking time hacking me, you know. Now, if you hack somebody with really good credit and shit, well, yeah, they're going to get screwed. But now, the only thing I do worry about, they got another scam where they claim they can take the deed to your house, which is on the internet, and forge it and become the new owners of your property. Well, two things would happen if somebody did that to me. I will find them. I will kill them. Because without my house, I'm screwed. Might as well be dead anyway. So you know what? I'm going to take your fucking life. I don't care if I go to jail or not. Maybe the only way I'll have a roof over my head after you steal my house. But what I want to know is, The government knows about this. The banks know about this. And yet they still allow people to do quitclaim deeds over the internet. Why? Why do they not check with the actual owner of the house? Suppose if somebody tries to do that to my house, and well, yeah, Mr. Tedesco, quitclaimed his house to me. They should contact me in person and say, did you quitclaim your house? Fuck no, I did not. All right, that's all we need to know. We're going to get this guy. We're going to lock him up, maybe execute him for trying to scam you out of your house. They can stop this, but they don't seem to be all that interested in it. And it's the same with any of these scams. It wouldn't happen if the government cracked down on the scammers. And the only way to do that, of course, is to, kill them. I had somebody try to pull that shit, that rental scam. It's 2 years ago. I get a phone call and the woman says, well, we'll be down to move into your house in about a week. And I'm going, what house? Yeah. Well, the one that you rented to us. I says, what house? I says, what's the address? Because I'm thinking maybe they were, talking about my old house because they sold it, So she spits off the number. It's the house I'm living in up here. And I go, well, I live here. My house isn't for rent. Well, we paid, $4,000 or $5,000, I don't know how much, several $1,000s to some broker. I said, well, you got bent over. I don't know what the hell to tell you. Well, we're moving in, whether you like it or not. I said, well, you could try. I says, here in Florida, because they were from Michigan. I says, here in Florida, we can shoot you if you trespass on our property. And trust me, now I'll be waiting for you. The minute you step foot on my property, I will ventilate your ass. Well, what about the money we spent? That's not my problem. I didn't take your money. My house is not up for rent. What kind of a moron would rent a house sight unseen through a broker on the internet and throw all that money down to begin with? Lady, you're dumb as a box of rocks. Well, this is bullshit. I said, yeah, well, can't help you. Go find the asshole you paid the money to and go fucking deal with him directly. She hung up on me. I never heard from her again. Now, I'm not sure what the scam was. I'm thinking they were probably hoping, well, if you just refund the money, we'll forget about it and go our own way. And I'm going, why would I refund something I never got from you in the first place? It was a lot of money. It was several $1,000s. Well, he ain't giving you shit. And if you step on my property, he'll get a bullet. And legally I can do that, and I will. And I don't think she really expected that kind of a response, because I'm sure most people, oh, well, what can I do to make this right for you? I don't fucking care. If you're that stupid, you get what you get. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So, how do you deal with people like this? But I heard that was a common scam, that people were doing that. And in some cases, they would actually move into a vacant house and squat in there. And in some, well, here in Florida, it's a little different, but in a lot of states, if you squat, it's hard to get you out. Now, I wouldn't have that problem because I got 45 reasons to get you out of my house. I don't give a shit. You break into my house and squat in there, well, we're going to have a problem, and you're going to be getting out real quick, either on your own or in a body bag. It's your choice. And if everybody did that, this shit would come to a halt. And once again, why isn't the government actually protecting the homeowners? Well, they have a right to... No, they don't. It's your fucking house. It's bullshit. That's what I'm saying. I don't trust the government. Yeah, or anybody else for that matter. Well, I ain't risking my life walking tracks, trust me. between your identity, then ruin your. Well, like I said, hey Floyd, how's it going? Good to see you. They could do that, but my credit's pretty much in the shitter anyway. You know. Um, and I don't care because, I own my house. I own my vehicles. I still have credit to buy things on a low level. I don't have, unlimited credit cards or anything like that. I've got one credit card, $300 limit. I have the Affirm account, which I think gives me a $1,400 limit. And I don't think that's hackable either, by the way. So, that's what I'm saying. How are you really going to hurt me? Now, if I had AAA credit, well, if I had AAA credit, it means I probably have money and I could afford to get one of those, what they call them, life locks or whatever, that protect all your shit. Like an insurance company. I can't afford to throw down $20-$30 a month to protect my name and my identity. I don't have that much. I don't have that kind of money to throw away. And like I said, if you think you can do something with my identity, knock yourself out. Yeah, I probably should, but I'm not that much of an asshole. Yeah, if I decide I don't want to do it, just tell them I ain't doing it. Dwight, you're funny. Well, I'll tell you, it's just getting crazy out there. Like I said, all this stuff going on. And these scammers, I would kill them myself if it were legal to do so. Send them over. I'll use my own gun, my own bullets at my expense. You just gotta haul them off after I do the deed. I'd have no problem taking them out because I have zero compassion for people who would steal other people's money under false pretenses. And it's like one of the lowest things you can do. Hey, Dave BNSFN Skill, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, happy 250th to you too, sir. So, it just pisses me off because the government doesn't step in and do anything. It's like, these scam phone calls and shit. It's like, at least thank God the phones nowadays can, in some cases, identify a scam caller. And in other cases, you can label it as such and you don't get bothered anymore. Because if you're anything with a 239 area code, which is from Naples, if I know you, you're already in my contact list. If you're not my contact list, I have no reason to talk to you. So pretty much any 239 comes in that's not my contact list is immediately labeled as a scam call. But what I'd really like to say is, why don't the government crack down on these things? They can. You can't convince me for a minute that the phone companies don't know who's doing this shit. But it's not in their financial interest to do anything about it because, they're profiting. So this guy's making 250 phone calls a day or more. He's paying us for it. Yeah, we know he's a scammer, but hey, we're making money, so we're not going to bother him. And that's very unfortunate that the phone companies think that way, but that's where they're at. Like I said, what should be done is find out who they are, arrest them, try them for crimes against humanity or crimes against Americans, and let the punishment be death by hanging or firing squad. Make an example out of a few of them, the rest will fall in, you know. It just, this is how you fix this shit. Turning a blind eye ain't working. Let's see what else we got going on here. What about AI? Well, like everything, it has its place. For fun shit, I think it's cool. But to put it in charge of anything important, I think is suicidal and stupid. And, you know, the government wants to put AI in charge of, like, all our weapons, especially nukes. Are you stupid? You know, why would you trust a machine with your very life? You gotta be insane to even consider it, but yet, here we are. Like I said, for fun stuff, I think AI is cool. I know I was watching a documentary on animations, you know, on TV, like Family Guy or Futurama, all the different ones, Simpsons. And they're saying that AI could take over as voice actors, and they could fire all the voice actors, and they don't need them anymore. Yeah, I suppose it can. Should it? Absolutely not, but it can. And this is just but a single facet of AI that could cause problems down the road. And of course, the fact that, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, I don't remember where it came from, but I think it started out as a meme. But President Trump was in the White House in the Oval Office with some of his cabinet members and Zelensky from Ukraine. And they get in a fist fight. It looks real, but it's actually all AI. It never happened. But it looks like, you know, they're duking it out. And it's like, well, if they can do that, what else can they do? You know, that's some scary shit, because you'll no longer know what's real and what isn't. Fortunately, she got big money and massive computers. AI still has flaws in it that do allow it to see the mistakes. Like, I watched AI renderings of people, and some of the people have, you know, 8 fingers or an extra arm. You know, because there wasn't enough processing power to make the correction. And AI really is still in its infancy to some degree. But what happens when we get supercomputers that can actually utilize it and do such a good job of faking something that we wouldn't know the difference? I mean, they could assassinate Trump using AI. He wouldn't get assassinated. But if the people thought he was assassinated, couldn't that trigger civil war based on a lie? That's some scary shit, man, you know? And Dave said these DAs and judges are busy doing other things. Yeah, whatever the hell that is, right? Spike Man said, Thomas says AI will be everywhere. Well, it could. Unless we really do, you know, control it, because it's very scary stuff, you know. And Dave's got a point here. It seems like judicial system only wants to prosecute innocent people. Well, it does, and it hurts the innocent people. You know, he said if you're in your house, somebody breaks in, and you know, you're in fear of your life, you put a bullet in their head and kill them to stop the threat. In some states, you could go to prison for that. How in the fuck does that work? You know, where the criminal gets more fucking rights than you do? Fuck the criminal. He needs to die. So, I said, fortunately in Florida, we're very lenient here. Most things we can do without having to worry about going to jail over it. You know, he said, we have the castle doctrine. Anybody breaks into your house and you're in fear of your life, you may kill them. We have the stand your ground law. If you're outside minding your own business, somebody threatens your life and you're in fear of your life, you may kill them. You know, if you're driving around in your car and a protest breaks out and they try and block your car or rush your car, you may run them over and not get in any trouble. And you notice in Florida, we don't really have that problem here because, well, these idiots know we'll run them down. But in California, if you do that, you're going to prison. You can't run people down even if they want to rip you out of your car and kill you, or worse. You can't do anything about it. That is stupid, you know. But these are some of the problems that are happening in our country, and I don't know if they're going to fix it or not anytime soon. The turbo train, huh? I've seen it. Couldn't afford to buy one. Looks cool though. Does it run smoothly? Yes. And does it track well? Also, yes, as far as I know. Huh, I wasn't aware of that, Floyd. I guess it all depends, doesn't it? You just never know anymore until you try it. All right, Dave, well, have a good one, man. Go find some food and enjoy. And once again, happy 4th to you, and we'll see you next week. So, yeah, the evening's kind of dragging tonight. It's only 7:30. It feels a lot later than that, but apparently not. Guess that's what happens when I go on a rant, right? The race says, what makes me mad is the state can take up to a year to decide to bring charges against me. But I only have 6 months to bring charges against the bad cop. Well, I know, it's the same with lawsuits, you know. It's just, there shouldn't be a timeline on any of that stuff. Not really. You know, if you have evidence, it shouldn't matter how long it takes to present it. But if you have it, and, you know, because basically it's a waiting game, you know. My mother was, you know, killed, well, more or less, in the hospital through incompetence. You know, she was highly allergic to morphine. Written all over her charts. All the family members told everybody, don't give her morphine, she'll die. And what did they do? They gave her morphine and she died. So her husband, my stepfather, I told him, I said, you need to sue the shit out of the hospital and the doctor and everybody that had anything to do with anything with it. Well, it ain't going to bring back your mom. I said, no, but it'll line your fucking pockets. You know. Once you're dead, but you should be, you know, recompensed for that. And he didn't agree, and then at some point, that was right after it happened, and I guess, well, it's been, I think, 2 years since she passed. And just a few months ago, he decided to take up on it for a lawsuit. Statute of limitations, man, can't go more than 6 months. Too late. And I'm thinking, that's bullshit, you know. What if he was going through a grieving process and just didn't want to deal with that right now? And once he got through with his grieving, they said, all right, now it's time to get down to business and sue these bastards. Well, he can't do that because you only got 6 months. It ain't right, you know. You know, cheat on your taxes. 20 years down the road, they'll be knocking on your door wanting to lock your ass up, unless you can pony up a shitload of money. How come there's no statute of limitations on that? It ain't right. It really isn't. I gotta agree with you there, Ray. You know. Well, that's true, Gerald. I mean, medicine is responsible for more deaths than actually all the other deaths put together. Guns are a tiny, tiny fraction of deaths. Car accidents are probably the second biggest one. Doctors are the number one, believe it or not, through malpractice and mistakes. Car accidents, and I'm sure from there it goes on, but and for the most part they're immune from prosecution, you know. Plus they can hide what they're doing too easily, and I got a problem with that too. Well, shit, we may all have to tune in for that, James, just to watch it run. That'll be cool. Yeah, I'm probably going to wrap this up by 8 because I'm running out of stuff to talk about anyway. Yeah, Tom, unfortunately true. Why do you think it's called medical practice? They're always practicing on you. All these things are practices, you know. Are you practicing attorney, practicing doctor? You know. Why can't I be practicing something? Now, I once said that to a doctor many years ago. He says, you know what? He was telling me how much smarter he was than I was, you know. Well, I'm the doctor here, and I got all these certificates on the wall to prove how smart I am. And I'm thinking, well, if that's true, why are you still practicing medicine? What do you mean? I said, you're practicing medicine. When you get it right, come back and see me. And it finally clicked in. Everybody pissed him off, you know. But it's true. You know, practice on somebody else. Don't practice on my ass. Because, you know, if I die, no big deal. You know, you still get to go home and have dinner with your family. I won't be so lucky because I'll be dead. I got an issue with that. So, you know. Doctors generally don't like me too much anyway because I'm unfortunately very brutally honest with them, you know. And because I have to be, you know. Well, you know, no. First off, let's get something straight, okay? I don't take vaccinations because there's no proof that they're actually good for you or that they actually do anything. And my record so far is, you know, I've not gotten sick, really. You know, I had pneumonia once. I never got the pneumonia shot. I got over it. I'm fine, you know. And the thing is, if I'd have got the pneumonia shot, I would have still got pneumonia by your own admission. So why would I take a vaccination against something that doesn't actually vaccinate me against whatever it's supposed to? You know, just leave me the fuck alone. I'll be fine. You know, take your fucking junk science and, you know, shove it somewhere. Well, like I said, they get mad. Well, I can't be your doctor if you're not going to listen to me. I had a cardiologist I had down in Naples. Basically, he wanted me to take this drug, this blood pressure drug, that was so potent that I had to be admitted in the hospital for a week and be watched 24/7 while I was taking it because it could kill me. And I looked at him, I said, are you fucking serious? We got to get your blood pressure down. I says, well, killing me is probably, well, I mean, I guess it would work, but not kind of the way I want it to go down. I said, no, I'm not taking it, you know. So you're refusing to take a medication? Yes, sir, I sure am. I'm not taking something that's going to kill me. You're supposed to save my life, not fucking take it, you know. Anything where I need to be admitted in a hospital for a week to be observed 24/7 to make sure I don't die from this drug, I need to stay away from that drug. Well, if you refuse to take it, I can't be your doctor anymore. That's fine. Plenty of doctors out there. I'll go find another one. And it turns out that about 6 months later, I had another heart attack. And I had 2 clogged arteries. And that's why my blood pressure was high. Which I kind of figured anyway. It's like, look, if my blood pressure is high and my organs aren't failing, that means there's got to be a blockage somewhere. Go in and find it and fix it. Don't put me on a fucking pill that might kill me. You know. But these doctors, they're all, oh, we can fix anything with a pill, I was taking testosterone for a while, for that, what you're thinking of. And one of the side effects of testosterone, it makes your nipples sore. And it's like, some women have this problem for some other reason. I'm going, well, this isn't really working for me, And we got a pill for that. You take your pill and shove it up your ass. I'm done with testosterone. It's not fixing nothing. It's created a new problem to get me to take another pill to fix that problem. What problem will that pill cause? Sorry, not interested. We're shutting the whole thing down, and I did, It pissed them off a little bit, but he really got upset about that. I said, well, yeah. I said, because, this is the way things go. You give me a pill to fix something that it doesn't actually fix. It has side effects, and to counteract the side effects, well, we've got a pill for that, so you give me another pill, and the side effects from that will require yet another pill, and so on. And you're all you're doing is you're swallowing 100 pills a day by the time you get through. And none of it's actually doing you any good. So no, we're not going there. Well, I'm supposed to be your doctor. Well, you better fucking get a brain then, because you ain't using the one you got. I've had more doctors toss me out as a patient than I can shake a stick at. But I don't care, because you know what? Better to stand my ground than to be dead. And I simply don't trust these fuckers. You can't fix everything with a pill. Craziness, man. Well, they practice on everybody, Gerald, but yeah, the poor people, they're probably more in harm's way because they don't have the money to fight back, and sometimes they don't even have the intelligence, It's like, well, yeah, the fucker died, Yeah, his heart was in bad shape. We couldn't do anything for him, and he just died, so, there you go. They would do that shit to a billionaire because a billionaire would own them before the week was out. So. Thanks for putting up that link, James, for Denny. I wish I could, Floyd, but there's absolutely no way. Oh, you're asking James that. Yeah, well, James is a lot closer. Ah, cool. Well, that's true, Joe. They don't actually. Nobody cures anything. If you do get cured, it's probably because they fucked up and gave you the wrong thing that actually cured you. Remember, a patient cured is a patient lost. The first thing they tell all prospective doctors in medical school. That's not a joke, and it's not a lie. If they cure you, if you're in good health, you're not going to run to the doctor for shits and giggles. I stayed as far away from doctors as long as I could until I had no choice. It seemed like after the first time, Now I'm seeing them all the time for different things, you know. I'm not getting any better. They're not doing anything for me. And sometimes I do the opposite of what they tell me, and I'm better off for it, you know. My, my, shit, what the hell is his name? My kidney doctor. He said, "Well, don't go on a protein diet because it'll destroy your kidney." Okay. So I did some research and found out that high protein diet will actually help my diabetes and not hurt my kidneys. If anything, it'll help my kidneys because diabetes hurts your kidneys. So I went on the meat diet basically, and I'm doing much better on all my tests are coming up better than they were before. And the doctor said, "I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it." I'd have the heart to tell him I'm doing exactly the opposite of what you told me to do. you know. But that's the truth of it. I looked at it. All right, this is what I know. Let me try it. If it's bad for me, it's going to show up in my blood work. I'll know it's bad, and then I can revert back to whatever the doctor said. I always go my own way first, and it seems like it works out better for me. Well, you better hope you never become a diabetic then. I mean, not all diabetics shoot insulin, but it's the safest way to treat diabetes. Taking the pills, you can wind up with amputations and shit. The pills don't really help you. They put me on the pills metformin for a while at first. It wasn't working. And I said, "Why don't you just give me insulin?" "Well, you can't shoot insulin." "Why not?" "Well, because you're a man and guys can't shoot insulin." Who fucking told you that? Give me a fucking needle. I'll show you how I can shoot insulin. And they did, and I did. And oh, damn, I've never seen a man do that before. Well, you don't know too many fucking men, do you? No problem, Floyd. That's anything I can do to help things out, man. Like I said, I'm advertising for the meet and greet myself. You saw it earlier. And, we all do what we can to help everybody out. And Spike Man says, especially shot. Nah, needles won't hurt you. James says, needles are fun. I get them all the time. Ray says, years ago I helped my neighbor with an injection and had child support. That's a different kind of injection, man. But in all fairness, I had my dad's tenant who were living in the front of the house back when my dad was, still in good shape, and he rented the front house and he lived in the back and I lived in the back with him. And his tenant, a young guy, married to a true nymphomaniac. She was beautiful too, but he actually begged me to fuck his wife. But I said, dude, I just got married myself. I said, I can't do that. My fucking wife would kill me, But she wore him down so much, he turned to heroin. And he was in such bad shape he couldn't inject himself. And he'd start going in a DTs, and he'd say, dude, you got to do this for me. I don't know how to do that. So he showed me how to do it. And literally about every day, sometimes twice, I had to shoot him up because he couldn't do it himself. He eventually wound up with a bullet in his face. Somebody took him out up in Chicago, but because he was in rough shape. But I said, dude, why don't you just leave your wife? She's she's pretty hot. I said, yeah, she is, but what the hell, man? That girl wanted to fuck like every 15 minutes. Nobody can do that, And so he turned to heroin because it actually helped him stay awake and service her as best he could. But he was in such bad shape that he couldn't shoot himself up, so I did it for him. And that's really how I learned how to inject needles and stuff. And So when I did go to the hospital for myself, for like a virus or infection or whatever, and they had to give me an IV. If I give the nurse one shot, she didn't do it right the first time. I took it away from her, did it myself, and they just look at, how do you know how to do that? Well, it ain't fucking hard if you know what you're doing. Obviously, you didn't learn, you know. That one nurse jabbed me 3 times. Blood all over the fucking place. Give me that fucking thing. Put it in there. That's how you do it. Well, I'm brand new at this. We need to go back to school then, because you know what the fuck you're doing, So, I mean, needles aren't that big of a thing for me. And the insulin needles they're very small and short. Now I had a friend who was he was injecting testosterone. And it was a big ass syringe, and the needle was about this long. I kid you not. It's a good 1.5 inches long. And I swear it was the thickness of a small nail. Like a finish nail. And he had to jam it in his leg, and sometimes it didn't go in the first time. Because you had to just literally jab it in there, And like sometimes take 2 or 3 attempts to jam it in there, and I'm going, fuck that, man. I'm not afraid of needles, but stabbing yourself like that just seems kind of stupid. So, Let's see what else we got here. Boy, it says, I'm glad to see that you bring your wife for the dinner train, James. Well, that's cool, of course. And Thomas said, James, a few months ago I had fish hooks in my ear, and they were treble hooks. Oh, yeah. That had to be painful. Of course, usually they'll clip it, the back end of it, like where the thread goes in, where the eye is. They'll clip it there and then just push it the rest of the way through. Because pulling it back out, that's what's the painful part. Of course, if you got a barb on it, like a treble hook would, you're going to do some damage, so you really don't want to do it that way. I've removed hooks from people's fingers, and that's what I would do. I would cut it right at the back end of it and just push it the rest of the way through. It's still painful, but not as painful as trying to back it out. Spike, dude, when you get older, they won't be a problem, trust me. Yeah, that's probably true. Hey, Mom and Son Train Rail fans, Tammy and Ray. How you guys doing? Staying busy, I hope. Hope you're doing well. Hello, everybody in chat. Not staying too long. Mowed the lawn today. This mom has pooped. Yeah, I got to do my lawn tomorrow. I'll be in the same boat, trust me. I hope anyway. I hope there's some dry time. It's been getting a lot. I think you guys are getting a lot of rain too, aren't you? We're getting a ton of rain every day here, man. Everything's soaked. And the grass is grows 4 inches every time it rains. That grass is about 1.5 feet tall out. My weeds. All right, Dave. Have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Be safe tomorrow and enjoy the day and have as much fun as you can. And happy 4th of July, sir. Here's an interesting one. Joe Red wants to know, question, Tammy. Is the mama and daddy dogs tricolor? And Tammy says, yes, they are. Cool. Too bad you can't post a picture of them here, man. I'd like to see them. Of course, I'll be careful. My wife sees a puppy. She wants one. And as much as I'd like to let her have one, we have 2 dogs right now, and I really just don't want to have any more, Yeah, Joe's getting a new family member. A 4-legged one. That's cool. Gotta love dogs, man. Thomas says, I'm 31 and I'm having catfish tomorrow. You know, I've never had catfish. I used to catch them and just throw them back. But I do understand that people do eat them and they're not bad. David Nish, how you doing? Good to see you here. Happy 4th of July to you, sir. Tom says, I need to cut my grass again. Getting high, but every day it rains. Do not like cutting. You know, you can't really cut wet grass. And Tammy says, no, the storm split when it gets to our house. It's just really hot, but then I put my fat ass in the pool. At least you have a pool. My wife's kind of been kicking. I said, no, I'd like to get one for my wife, you know, above ground one. Put it in the backyard because it gets hot out here. And I'll tell you what, it would be nice to jump in a nice cool pool, you know. They're not that expensive, but, you know, upkeep's a little tough on them. But we'd have to get a cover for it, though, because we got all these trees here. And it would be trashed inside of an hour, you know. So, I don't know. Sometimes I just wish we had a sprinkler system. You just turn that on, go run around like a kid in the sprinklers, you know. It gets ridiculous. I mean, I tell you, I'm sure my wife's going through the same thing, but I can't handle the heat at all. As soon as it starts getting warm, I actually start getting dizzy and disoriented, and it's like, I gotta find air conditioning. Yeah, well, if I fell off the diving board, I probably would, but I don't have the ability to do a cannonball or do diving or any of that shit anymore. I'm lucky I could stand up, you know. There's another link for Sparky's meet and greet. Guys, click on it and check it out. The more the merrier that go up there. That's what we have an above ground, not big. I'm the only one who goes in it, so don't need much. Like I said, I've seen, you know, the smaller ones are like 6 or 8 foot in diameter, maybe 3 foot tall, 4 foot tall. Not crazy big. You can get them for, you know, $100 or $100-200, and they have filters on them. And, you know, just to go in there and just cool off, I mean, you can't go wrong. And I may get one at some point because I'll tell you, it's getting, I don't know what it's like in South Carolina, but it's getting brutal down here, man, with the heat, you know. It was 104 the other day in the shade, even though the, you know, the TV news, oh, it's 93. Yeah, 93 my ass. It was. I got a thermometer right outside the door. It's always in the shade from the trees. And it was reading 104. So that means in actual sunlight, it was probably about 115. You know, but you're not supposed to measure it in the sunlight. You're supposed to measure it in the shade. But still, you know, how could you report 93 when it's really 104? There's something wrong with that, you know. James says, I just hide in the train when it's too hot. There you go. Dave says, my girlfriend has an 18-foot above ground pool with deck around it. I was in it yesterday. Yeah, those are nice. If I had the money, I wouldn't mind having something like that, but my biggest problem is getting in and out of it because I just, like I said, because, you know, prior stroke victim, I don't move around well like I used to. I could do steps barely. Ladders are out of the question for the most part. So I couldn't really have anything like probably more than 3 foot above ground. Tom says, after the last storm on Monday, I was up on my roof taking all the small branches off and throwing them on the ground. I only have one tree, but I get a lot of debris all the time. Yeah, well, I got lots of trees, and trust me, I get a lot more debris than you do. The good news is I have a metal roof, and none of it really stays up there. But on the ground, though, there's branches all over the fucking place all the time, you know. Jim T, I'm going to see next week. Well, that's good. Yeah, Mom says, Tammy says, yes, mine is 6 foot wide by 3 foot, but to be honest, the filters that go with the index pools are shit. Oh, Intex, yeah. We bought a sand filter, so much better circulation. I had an Intex back in Naples. We had it in the front yard. It was only 2 foot tall, and it was 5 foot wide. It was only like $60. Came with a filter and that shit. And like I said, the filters were, you know, I bought a cover for it because we had the same problem down there. You would get, you know, leaves from nearby trees and stuff would find their way in the pool, and would wind up clogging the filter anyway. But, you know, it was nice though. It was 100 degrees outside. You just go outside and, you know, pop yourself in the pool, cool right off, man. It's like, oh yeah, this is the life. You know. Which is, I've got a tree in the front yard that is dying. I have 2 twigs in the yard all the time. Or have twigs in the yard all the time. Well, I don't know if my trees are dying or not, but somebody said they might be. They're Florida oaks. I'm not worried about them coming down. I mean, they've withstood the hurricane so far. Because we've had 3 years since I've been here. But it does clean them out. I mean, any dead branches in there, takes them right out, throws them on the ground. I mean, it's like a debris field after a hurricane. It's like, oh, this is a pain in the ass. We got to pick them up, throw them in a big pile out in the front, wait for the truck to come and get them, you know. Now, this year they actually, well, last year I should say, or the last one that came through, they sent the truck to the front of the house and picked them up. The year before that, we had to drag them down to the street on 17. So we loaded up the back of my Ford Ranger about 8 times and dropped them off on the side of 17 where they eventually picked them up. But now they come right to your house and pick them up, so that makes life a lot easier. No, I don't have any fruit trees here at all. I said all we have is the Florida oaks. They're not like the oaks up north, but they're similar. It's a hardwood tree. And they're pretty stout trees. I mean, I'm not worried about any of them, you know, falling over or anything, but I probably got 30 of them in the yard. Front, rear, side, you know. I wanted to cut most of them down, and my wife said, no, we gotta leave them there. Now she's saying, no, I wish I'd let you cut them down. Too late now, we don't have the money to do it. Back when I had the money, you know, for $4,000 or $5,000, I could have had most of them taken out. Because the guy had, you know, it was a professional company, but they were pretty reasonably priced, you know, because we had a couple. Well, when we first got here, they needed to be trimmed. It was bad. They actually did an aerial photograph of the house, I guess a couple years prior. You couldn't see the house. It was literally buried underneath the brush of the trees, and I said, you know, that's not good. We got to clear that out. So I spent a couple of $1,000, had them trim all the trees up, remove a couple, and so now you could actually, if they did an aerial view, you could actually see the whole top of the house. I wouldn't mind having fruit trees. The problem is, I was living in a rental unit back in Naples years ago, and we had an orange tree and a lemon tree, and then fucking assholes from the government going, we got to inspect your trees. Why? Well, if they're diseased, you'll have to pull them out. I'm going, I'll have to pull them out? This ain't my land, dude. You go talk to my landlord about that. And I guess they made a landlord remove them because they were diseased. They had that, I can't remember what it's called now, but it was a real common problem with the orange trees. even though it didn't affect the fruit, and I don't understand why they made you burn the trees up. It just didn't make sense. Tammy says, told Philip next year I want an 18 by 54, but want to put a screened porch around it like they do in Florida. Won't have to worry about all the leaves. Well, that makes sense. It's pretty big. That's a pretty big pool, though. 18 by 54. Well, hell yeah. Be nice, though. And Tammy says, we have the tree that puts off gumballs and helicopter twigs fall. I remember those up north. We used to call them pollywogs or something like that. We have at least 4 acres of trees in the back acreage. Yeah, you got me beat. I like the trees. They're nice because they provide shade to keep the area cool. But I do worry, though, because, if a hurricane does come, I don't have insurance on my house. I can't afford it, I just living on a fixed income, and they want like $12,000 a year. I only get $21,000 a year. You can't do it, the money just isn't there. So I basically have to have good faith in God that He'll protect my house from trees falling on it, But that's the way it goes. Thomas says, I live in the woods. Well, we're not quite in the woods here. Well, we're surrounded by woods, though. There's a big preserve behind me. That's all wooded area. It's state land, I guess. I know one of my neighbors goes back there and, hunts. I guess it's legal. Don't really care, But we have wildlife. We had a bear come through here the other day. During the day, it was a cub. Not like a baby cub, but like a medium size. If he stood up, he'd be as tall as I was. I'm 5'6". And Deb was out there putting the trash out or something, and she come back here screaming, there's a bear! I look on the monitors, for my security, so son of a bitch, there's a bear out there. He's just hunting around, looking for garbage, food to eat. And he went next door to my neighbor's house. I called my neighbor. I said, Randy, there's a bear in your backyard. He said, huh? I said, there's a bear in your backyard. Well, I'm going to shoot him. I said, go knock yourself out, He has a BB gun, a pump BB gun. They pumped it twice and put 2 rounds into him. BBs. Scared the bear off. He hasn't been back since. So I don't think he'll come back here after that. I mean, it didn't hurt him. It startled him, It's like he shot him right in the side, and the bear and then ran off and ran across the railroad tracks and got the hell out of Dodge. Right now, we haven't seen him since. So hopefully he won't be back. I said, if he comes back, I'll shoot him with a 22 next, If Mama Bear comes up, I'm getting the AK out there and I'll take her out too, But unfortunately, we are now allowed to kill the black bears if they're a threat to our property or our persons. Because like I said, I had the one a couple of years ago that attacked my chickens, killed a couple of chickens, and I called up the Wildlife Commission. They said, we can't do anything about it. I'm going, well, if I come back, I'm going to shoot it. Well, you can't do that, sir. It's bullshit. I said, then if you don't want me to shoot the motherfucker, you come out here, get him, and relocate him. Well, if we do that, he'll just come back. I go, well, then you ain't relocating him far enough away. Take him to the other side of the state about 100 miles away. He won't be coming back here, I'm pretty sure. We can't do that. So I said, well, then, I'm going to shoot the motherfucker. I think my neighbor, I think he did shoot him. Because we didn't see the bear again after that. And FWC never came out to relocate him. So it's like, the bear is gone. And those guys all got, 308s and shit. Hunting rifles. I bet you one of them took it out. Of course, they have a backhoe, so 308 and a backhoe, problem solved. You know. But then like I said, our governor made it so that he signed a bill that gave us the authority to kill them now if they become a threat to you or your property, which should have been anyway, because I don't want to kill them if I don't have to. But you know, and the good news is they're more afraid of us than we are of them in most cases. Because Deb was probably she said about 15 foot away from it. She startled it. It ran up a tree and she ran the other way. So I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure who was more afraid of who, but you know. Well, what if he'd attacked me? I said, they generally won't attack people. Unless you like really surprise them and you're close enough to where, you know, he feels threatened. But generally they'll run away from you, you know. Which is a good thing, but like I said, if he comes back, I'm just going to shoot him. I'm not going to fuck around with it, you know, because I'm tired of picking up trash. Hey, no problem, Floyd. You know, throw any link you want up there. No, I got no issue with it at all. Tammy says, we're in the country and 4 acreage of trees and 3 acres for the house and yards, and enclosed an area for the pig and the goats. But I do not know if I could live in a populated area. Oh, not after you lived out in a farmland like that. I couldn't. I'm out here, and I'm not really. I mean, we consider this rural. I still have neighbors, a couple of them, but basically, I like to say I'm out in the boonies. I could never go back to living on a city block with 20 houses next to me, you know. I didn't like that to begin with, and there's no way I could ever go back to that after having space again, you know. I've always said that everybody should have at least an acre of their own property, at the very least. More if they get away with it, you know. This bullshit of clustering everybody together, it causes more problems than it solves. All right, Floyd, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in, and we'll see you next time. And happy 4th of July to you. Be safe tomorrow, but have fun. Joe says, I have a red fox that visits once in a while. I have not yet seen a fox here. I'm hoping. You know, we've seen raccoons, we got possums. We've seen occasional deer will come by. Bear, of course. We had hogs coming by, and I think the neighbor killed them all and ate them. Because they just disappeared one day, and we haven't seen them since. Yeah, we got turkeys, wild turkeys here, which are still around. Their numbers have been cut down quite a bit, but there's still a few out there. So we got a lot of stuff out here. And like I said, I have no problem with it, you know. Unless an animal becomes destructive to my property, I got no issue with them, you know. It's just like, you know, you go about your business. But, you know, if they start getting into my trash or doing any kind of damage to the house or property or the cars, well, I'm going to have to take them out. That's just the way it goes, you know. And Thomas says, I have a deer that visits me once in a while. Those are cool. I mean, they don't get close enough here, but I've seen a couple of does. I didn't see any bucks yet, but there was a couple of does that come through here since I've been here for almost 5 years now. Tammy says, we had a 6-foot black snake roaming and water snake come on the carport, but Phil put them back in the woods. We have a small creek in our woods. Now I got a big black snake that lives underneath my tool shed, which is next to the train shed. I don't bother him. He doesn't bother anybody else, but he's about 6 or 7 foot long. He's about that big around, man. He's a big motherfucker. But they're good. They don't bother anybody, and I think they're protected anyway. Not that that would make a difference for me, but you know, I won't kill something if it's beneficial, you know. I killed a bunch of possums out here because they were getting in there every day. And, you know, my neighbors, well, you shouldn't kill possums because they're good for your property. I go, well, they ain't good for the property if they're tearing up shit, you know. And I also had a, fuck, what the the hell you call it. A raccoon here. And the raccoon didn't do any damage. He just come around looking for food. Deb thought he might have been looking to eat one of the chickens, which he might have. But we since got rid of all those chickens. We've got 4 more now, but they're small chickens. They're I can't remember what they're called, but they only get they're about half the size of a regular chicken, and they're like furry. They're kind of cool. Deb likes them, you know, and they lay eggs and they're edible. So you know, I told her four chickens. That's it. And you know, we got them in the house right now, in a pen. But at some point, I think she just can't put them out until they're about 9 months old, because they're not very big, and I guess they don't mature like a regular chicken does. But in about, like you said, when they're 9 months old, we've only had them, I think, for 6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks. They were babies when we got them. Fucking these were like that big, you know. So at some point we'll have to put them in one of the coops back there, but we're going to renovate one of the coops and make it secure, because they're not really anymore. I wanted to get a shed for them to use as a coop, a small metal shed. Deb's iffy on that, but I still think that might be the smart way to go instead of these build-it-yourself wooden things that we've been doing. They're okay, but they're hard to clean. They're not designed real well, because, you know, the hell do I know about raising chickens? Well, not so much raising, but, you know, housing them. Gerald says black snake. Yeah, they do. They'll eat rattlesnakes, and because we've had pygmy rattlers here. Well, a pygmy rattler bit one of my dogs. The dog got a little sick, but it didn't kill it, you know. And then once we found out about it, we killed it. It was only about 1.5 feet long, about that thick. I mean, it wasn't thick at all. It was a small snake, but if they bite you, they're potent. They can kill you, you know. But I'm surprised the black snake that lived under the shed didn't get it. So maybe he just got in. I don't know, but that's true, Ray. The possums do eat mice and rats, although we had a fair share of mice and rats in the damn coops. And the possums weren't doing shit about it. So I don't know, you know. Yeah, bantam chickens. That's what it was. I couldn't think of the word. You know, Gerald, you got a lot of knowledge ahead of you, and you got a good brain to hang on to it. But yeah, they're bantams. They're little. They're fur. They got furry feet and everything. So they're kind of cool looking, you know. And we don't know how many hens or roosters we got. Deb thinks we got 2 hens and 2 roosters. So if that's the case, we'll probably be selling or eating the roosters, because roosters are a pain in the ass, and she won't eat a fertilized egg. I don't give a shit one way or the other. But, you know, she's got to have her eggs, you know, unfertilized. And you can't do that if you got roosters. All right, Joe, have a good one, man. Happy 4th of July to you. Have fun tomorrow. Be safe. And we'll see you next week. No, I've never been to Colorado. That was a little further west than I've ever had the opportunity to go. I've been to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Kansas, St. Louis, Missouri. Never been to Texas. I've been to Alabama. Of course, Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, Michigan. Where else have I been? I actually ventured into Canada once. Through Michigan. Back before you needed a passport. That was a weird situation. Gerald says bantam roosters are assholes. Yeah, they probably are. The only problem I got with roosters, they're loud and obnoxious. You know, that bullshit where They only crow at 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever when the sun rises. Them fucking things crow 24/7. You know. Basically, I think they're calling the females. They just want to get laid. You can't blame them. But, you know, it's like, can't you do this shit quietly? Because we've had roosters before. We didn't have any bantam roosters, but constantly. All fucking day long, all fucking night. Thank God my neighbors didn't hear them. I don't know how, but they said, yeah, don't worry about it, no big deal. But I heard them, and that was bad enough, so I finally said, yeah, they gotta go. So I didn't know you can eat them for a long time, so I was giving them away. You know, a lot of the Mexicans, they'll cook them up and eat them. They don't care. Hey, you want a rooster? Sure, we'll take the rooster. Here you go. Yeah. We'll make rooster stew tomorrow and knock yourself out. Yeah, but now I know you can eat them. I'll just probably just, you know, kill them myself and eat them. All right, same to you, Tammy. You and Ray and your husband and the rest of your family have a safe and fun 4th of July tomorrow, and we'll see you next time. And Jim, I have been to 49 of the 50 states. The only one not was South Dakota. I've never been to either of the Dakotas. I wanted to go. I wanted to check out Washington State, Oregon, even California just to visit. I'd never lived there, but, you know. Nevada, Arizona. I just never got to any of them, you know. Like I said, I covered the East Coast. Pretty much the entire East Coast I've covered all the way up to Maine. And, you know, like I said, I've been to Vermont, I've been to Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, I've been to all those states, but and now they're all cool in their own right, but, you know. I'm originally from Jersey, and I've been to New York. Upstate New York is a lot nicer than the city, too, by the way. But it's still New York. And I'm too old to really, like I said, travel or do any of them things. It's a shame. I would kind of still like to see some of the other side of the country, but the reality is it's not going to happen. I don't have the money. You know, I'd probably want an RV for something like that, you know. My old boss, he went out, he sold his house, bought an RV, and they were just going to go ahead and tour the whole country and pick up odd jobs to bring in extra money. Plus, they had their pensions and their Social Security and shit, so they were pretty well set up. But, you know, I'm not ready to sell my house and live in a fucking mobile home, you know, motor home. They ain't happening. So, it is what it is. Well, that's true. It's not, but and it's a lot. Upstate is nice. I mean, most of it is. At least areas I've been. New York City, it's a shithole. They can keep it, but the problem is because of the proximity. If you live upstate and they drop a nuke on New York City, you're still fucked. So, you know, and I always figured if there are two places I figure they're gonna be zeroed out. Washington D.C. and New York City. I don't know about anybody else. I mean, they say that, you know, all the, you know, like Chicago and Detroit and all that. Why even waste a nuke on that? I think definitely Washington D.C. and New York City, because New York City, the financial hub of America, maybe the world. So I could see those two places being nuked out of existence. And because of that, I wouldn't want to live anywhere near either of the places. No, it's not. Upstate New York is upstate New York. It's just outside of New York City. I mean, you can go to Vermont from there. I think you can go to Pennsylvania from there. They border other states, but upstate New York is just basically not New York City. And that's pretty much the way they look at it. Plus, upstate's mostly conservatives. All the radical leftard lunatics live in the city. The rest of normal people live upstate, so yeah. But they don't have the numbers to make a difference for all of New York. Basically, whatever happens in New York City, it's going to happen for the rest of the state to some degree. Oops. There's 240 miles New York City to Moravia, New York, upstate. Yeah. And it's a long ways away. And in Colorado in 2026, RGS no number 20 will be on the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge. I didn't know that. That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty true there, Ray. I mean, I haven't been to Long Island. I had relatives in Long Island years and years ago. I'm sure they're all dead now, but aunts and uncles. But I remember we used to go visit them, and it wasn't that bad at the time. I've never been to Buffalo. I heard it was bad. I've been to New York City, obviously. And like I said, when I was a small child, I was with my mother, and my sister was just a baby. We were standing on a street corner. And before they called them that, there was a drive-by shooting. The rival gang or something. They just cut the guy down right there on the street corner across from us. He was dead as shit. And I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think I want to be here anymore. The Finger Lakes are beautiful. Yeah, I've heard that too. No, it's really not, Raven. The only place where you see the skyscrapers, really, for the most part, is New York City. Upstate is a lot of farmland, rural land. I mean, there's some small towns and stuff, but aside from Buffalo is a big city, but Buffalo is the capital of New York, isn't it? I think. So, it's relatively nice up there, but they have some pretty brutal winters, though, let me tell you. Tom says, Jim, I live 60 miles away from New York City and 61 miles away from Philly. Yeah. He says, I have been to Buffalo, New York many times. Well, nothing to brag about there, Tom. All right, Albany's the capital. I couldn't remember. I should know that by now, but I've never been to Albany either. I've been to some of the smaller towns upstate, barely on the map, but it's just a nice area, man. I was with a friend up there for a while, and she was 15 miles south of the guys that were building the motorcycles, the custom choppers. I can't remember their names now, but I was going to go up and check out their shop, and I never got around to it. But yeah, it was about 15, 18 miles away. What's that? I can't remember the fucking name of the company now. Something Choppers. I've been on the subways in New York. I've never been on the subway in Chicago, but yeah, upstate is lakes and dairy farms. Like I said, there's a lot of farmland up there. It really is a nice area. It's very pretty. But because of its proximity to New York City, oh yeah, that's it. Orange County Choppers. Thanks, Chuck. I couldn't remember that. Yeah, I was going to go visit them because they were still in operation at the time. I don't think they are anymore. But I thought it'd be fun to check out. I think it was pretty close by anyway. No. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Is what it is. Well, listen, guys, it's almost 8:30, so I think I'm gonna call this a night. They got a little bit down here, not as much. Maybe next week I'll have more to show. Hell, maybe we'll even have trains running. Who knows? I'm not making any promises, but maybe, you know. I gotta get cracking in here. I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting enough done, you know. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me as always. We always have fun. We talk about all kinds of shit. Tom Grass said, Jim, I rode on every subway train in New York City except for the G train. There you go. I think I was only on one of the trains. I was too young to know which one it was. Yeah, I'll check your emails, Thomas. Don't worry. All right, guys. Like I said, thanks for hopping in with me here and spending the evening. I know it's the day before 4th of July. I hope everybody has fun tomorrow. Be safe. Don't blow off any fingers or toes or hands or any other extremities you might need. And we'll see you next Thursday. So I'm going to put up the outro now, and remember to flip off the maintenance guy down there. He's still there for some reason. We'll see you.